wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clear skies tonight with a low about freezing, then sunshine on Friday and a high of 61. The Great Wall Restaurant has been providing an authentic taste of Chinese cuisine since 1981, specializing in Sichuan and Peking dishes. The Great Wall is located on the Minneapolis-Edina City line on France Avenue, just blocks north of 50th Street near 45th and Sunnyside. Check out their menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Hey, I am awake. This is Robert Pilot. Ahu, Ho-Chunk Raja, Wakunjahade, Hingadena. I am Robert Pilot, and my native name is Distant Thunder. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we talk about national and local Native news and events, Wendy. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. You can call them at 651-304-9986. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yeah, some of our segments are recorded, but not today.
Not today. Today we are live.
Live in living color in Macho Studio here, which means Blue Earth and Ho-Chunk. So we'll start saying that too. Maybe even change the color in here blue.
Yeah, I love blue. Get painting.
Hey, so I know there's a lot going on, Wendy. So this is enough of our chit chat back and forth.
No more banter?
No more banter.
All
We're
right.
going to go directly to the news with Ogama. And I just want to say again with Ogama with the news, it's really a unique news that we have all over Turtle Island. And what I mean by that is that it's Native-centric news and what's going on to Mother Earth and Father Sky. Welcome, Ogama.
Hi, bonjour everybody. I'm Ogama Ganuikwe with Native Roots Radio. So the big thing that happened today is that Native youth delivered more than 400,000 petitions to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in D.C. this morning.
Yes.
It was amazing. They had a lot of people turning out for that event. They had a giant black snake puppet. They did a die-in in front of the office. All of the live streams were available on the Cheyenne River Youth Council page, I believe. But you can also find them on Native Roots Radio. I did share them there today too as well. It was a really exciting event. Tonight, following up from that event, Mark Ruffalo is going to get an update from the Frontline Indigenous youth about their DC takeover today, and they're going to be talking about the Dakota Access, Line 3, and KXL pipelines and how they impact communities, and talk about their journey to DC and why it's important. And then tomorrow, Mark Ruffalo is going to be meeting with Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland on Instagram, on White House Instagram, starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I believe that's 10:30 our time. Wendy, can you check me on that? You used to live in Eastern Time, right?
She gets confused too.
No, they're an hour later than we are.
Okay, so then it would be 10:30 Central Time. That'll be happening again on the White House Instagram Live. It'll be Deb Haaland talking with Mark Ruffalo about pipelines and Indigenous sovereignty. So that is going to be really exciting, and we'll make sure to share that when that comes through.
He was awesome. He was at Standing Rock many, many, many times during our oil water protecting series back in 2016 and 17.
He's definitely been very supportive and very involved. I wanted to give an update on Line 5 over in Michigan, which is another Enbridge project that's happening. So the Little Traverse Bay bands of Ottawa Indians believe they may have discovered a potential archaeological site within the Straits of Mackinac, and that happened last fall. So this site has boulders that are arranged in what looks like deliberate lines and semicircles, and they believe it may be remnants of a 10,000-year-old caribou hunting culture. So this discovery opened the door for the Michigan tribe to pursue a legal strategy to help stop the planned Line 3 tunnel project. So even though Governor Whitmer of Michigan has ordered Enbridge to shut down that pipeline in May, Enbridge has said to Governor Whitmer that she does not have the authority as the state to do that, that it has to go to a federal level, to the Pipeline and Gas Committee at the federal level. But in Minnesota, when people who opposed Line 3 tried to say that the Public Utilities Commission of Minnesota was overstepping their bounds and it needed to go to a federal level for a decision, Enbridge, of course, said, no, the states have the authority to do that. So just wanted to point that out today. Big shout out for Healing MN Stories for pointing that out today to me. Read an article about that, and it is absolutely true. They play the system wherever they are to get what they want, and I think that it's important that people realize it. So getting back to the Little Traverse Band, what they're going to try to do is to get this archaeological site near the Straits of Mackinac classified as a traditional cultural property, which would then give it federal designation under the National Register of Historic Places. And that would hopefully be able to get something done to help stop Line 3 from going through that area. So best of luck to you guys all over in Michigan. We know you're fighting hard against Line 5, just like we are over here against Line 3. Some other interesting information from Minnesota. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison actually sued ExxonMobil and the American Petroleum Institute and Koch Industries in state court last year because they believe that they were running misleading informational campaigns and defrauding Minnesotans about climate change. So the lawsuit asked the court to disgorge the corporations of all profits made as a result of their unlawful conduct and to fund a science-based public education campaign about climate change. So that went to federal court, and the federal court bounced it back and said that this is definitely something that belongs in the state level court. And that the fossil fuel industry has run a campaign here in Minnesota trying to deceive people and to make them believe that climate change is not real.
The Koch brothers, well, there's only one of them left, but the whole family, the Koch family is just deplorable. Yeah. Deplorable.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that at least gave me some comfort, because sometimes I look around and I wonder why my fellow Minnesotans just don't believe what's happening. And it allows me to have more faith and pity for them, and to look at them in a way that makes me feel better, because I don't know that it's their fault. I believe that we are being legitimately misled in a lot of ways about this.
Critical thinking needs to be applied, and not sheep-like. They call us sheep because we're totally speaking all together against climate change and pipelines, but really they're the sheep that are following news entities and getting their news off Facebook and all these YouTube scandals and things.
Absolutely. So in Washington, 33 Democratic lawmakers have asked Biden to shut down the Dakota Access Pipeline. And their letter that they wrote to Biden that they delivered to him Monday basically said, by shutting down this illegal pipeline, you can continue to show your administration values the environment and the rights of indigenous communities more than the profits of outdated fossil fuel industries. That was 33 Democratic lawmakers. So that's a pretty sizable number, and I'm
a start.
It's a start. I mean, it's better, than a half a dozen or, that kind of thing. But basically, they're calling all of this with the Dakota Access Pipeline egregious environmental racism, and that is exactly as people who are against the Dakota Access Pipeline will tell you over and over again. They wanted to put it through a major city, and the city said no. Was it Bismarck they wanted to put it through?
Yep.
We wouldn't have this radio show if they would have put it through Bismarck.
Right, and Bismarck said no, that's dangerous, and they decided to move it over onto Indian land, and here we are.
Pipelines leak, right, Wendy?
Leak.
Wendy's working the board. We love it. Hey, we're going to try again with we're going to have Robert Lilligren on, and we're going to beg for his forgiveness from 2 weeks ago. And you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and Pinigigi Ogama for all that breaking news. We need to speak about what's happening all over Turtle Island and all over Minnesota, the United States, and we're pre-America, so it's good for us to hear this. Again, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and up next, Robert Lilligren.
Stay with us.
The University of Minnesota Duluth Department of American Indian Studies is accepting applications for the Master of Tribal Resource and Environmental Stewardship. With this degree, you'll develop the skills to help tribal governments manage natural resources and navigate the legal, cultural, and political contours of tribal sovereignty. And you can take all the courses online. To apply for the fall 2021 Masters of Tribal Resources and Environmental Stewardship at Minnesota Duluth, visit umdmtrees.org. That's umdmtres.org.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Works St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are the Aleutian Nation.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. You could call them at 651-304-9986. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They answer any of your COVID questions, and they also have lots of resources.
You know, we're going to have Robert Lilligren on in a few minutes here.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I just wanted to talk about it for a second, Wendy, is that just coming in on the Star Tribune website, Derek Chauvin's supervisor testifies that he was told immediately of knee of George Floyd's neck and how long. So,
a lot of people have been talking about this trial. I have friends of mine who have not even taken their eyes off the TV the whole day, where I cannot even watch a minute of it because it upsets me so much. And somebody was saying that what the defense is trying to do is to place some doubt to whether or not that the drugs that George Floyd took contributed to his death. And I'm telling you right now, if Chauvin gets off, I just don't even know where humanity lies anymore. I mean, it's just, I just can't even, unbelievable. I mean, even if he, the drugs could have caused his death, it was the knee on the neck that caused his death. That was the ultimate thing, because even if he took drugs and he didn't have a knee or nothing of that happened, he would have still been alive today and have been able to get high again. So it was the knee that Chauvin had on his neck that ultimately killed him.
Right. And, one of the important things that you just said, too, is this is not the George Floyd trial. This is the Chauvin trial. And we always have to remember words do matter. And so we want to talk a little bit about that. Hey, we got our special guest on, Robert Lilligren. And Robert works with NACDI. And I got to get the information out here quick. The Native American Community Development Institute. And we are always pleased to have Robert on. And look at this, Robert. I know you're a little gun shy from 2 weeks ago, but we're glad you made it here.
Hey, I am too.
Yeah, we're glad you made it. And we want to talk a little bit about the trial and the vibe in Minneapolis. You seem to have, and again, you're riding your bike everywhere too. So you seem to have the pulse on the city and what's happening in Minneapolis. Welcome.
Yeah, well, thanks. Hey, Wendy. Hey, Robert. Nice to see you. Yeah, and it's been interesting. I was just catching a lull of your conversation beforehand, and I don't think any of us expected the trial to be as traumatizing as the original murder. And so to see this, I mean, just to see the impact it's having on people. I've been in community meetings all week, mostly on Zoom, but a little face-to-face as well now that we're getting vaccinated. And I got to tell you, people are just like shell-shocked. People are hurting. We take time out of pretty much every meeting I'm in to kind of breathe and center ourselves. This has been hard. And you watch these poor witnesses on the stand and how re-traumatized they are. Your heart just goes out to them. It's I think the impact is surprising to many people. It's certainly surprising to me.
Yeah, and what really hit me, I think I really, really got teared up when I heard the medic that was trying to intervene, and her testimony, and then also the friend of his testimony yesterday. I mean, both times, you guys, I was teary-eyed after I saw that and getting revisiting it.
Well, and to see for, I think it was the first 6 or so witnesses all wept. They all broke down. It wasn't just 1 or 2 people that were overcome. This was hard on everyone involved, all of the witnesses. Now, today I saw maybe a couple witnesses that held it together, but oh man, and I don't blame these folks, but they're just breaking down. This is too hard to talk about, and I think me, and maybe this is naive, but I kind of thought we'll get to the trial and we'll see justice for George Floyd, and to learn that trial it can be a very traumatizing thing itself for the people involved, for the community. It's hard.
Gosh, is it ever? And replaying those and then also having the upset feelings. I don't know how this can go any other way than guilty. I just really, really can't see. And then if this doesn't happen, what's going to happen to our cities? I mean,
Yeah.
these are things I don't like to talk about, but it's really in the back of my mind.
Right. Well, and that's what we've been planning for a while, right? Just what is going to happen. Nobody really knows. All we know is that we have more time to prepare than we had last May when it just blew up like that. And so there's been a lot of the community coming together, with different agencies and organizations that can help keep us safe. We're hunting out resources to help support our community protectors at Little Earth of United Tribes in South Minneapolis, along the American Indian Cultural Corridor, Franklin Avenue in South Minneapolis. It's American Indian Movement, American Indian Community Development Corporation, the Native Outreach folks. The Little Earth residents are incredibly well organized, and so we're all just kind of waiting what's going to happen, and really we expect the protests have been so tremendously peaceful. I mean, it's really a sign of respect, right, for George Floyd and for justice, for that matter. But we're all just kind of waiting. And when the jury goes into deliberation, likely at the end of April, and when the verdict comes down, those are kind of touch points that we may be seeing more uptick in the demonstrations. And so we're all just trying to get ready.
Hey, have you been downtown at all? I mean, with all the fences and the plywood, have you seen any of that?
Oh yeah, I've seen it all, and I've lived in Minneapolis for over 40 years. My dad and my grandma lived just a few blocks from where I live now. I've never seen anything like this. I never thought I would see anything like this in all of my time in Minneapolis. It's a little heartbreaking, but people, need to do what they need to do to be safe, and in the community, in the American Indian Cultural Corridor on East Franklin, I'm putting this way because I live on Franklin. It's still a little bit that way. They, we made the decision during the first unrest after George Floyd was murdered that we weren't going to board up. I literally had folks with boards ready to, I think we had the first one up in our building where all my relations, arts gallery is, powwow grounds, coffee shop. Literally had one up, and the decision was made by the community and with AIM and Mike Gozy of the American Indian Community Development Corporation to not board up, and that we were going to use people power to protect our community, our assets, our people, our non-native neighbors and their assets. And man, were these guys successful. I mean, it's been an incredible show of community and community safety.
Yeah, it's amazing that people like Mike Gozy that are so connected and have people power with him and his organizations that can pivot that way. It's just amazing. And your organization too, and all the people that were talking when that was going down. And we bring this up every once in a while, but McGeezy was the only Native American business, so to speak, that was burned down, and that wasn't because of protectors.
Right, the building had no graffiti, no damage. It was literally across the street, right, kitty corner from the 3rd precinct that burned. And AIM protectors were there, community protectors. They had time to get valuable archived material out of the building. But finally, when all of the buildings around McGeezy Communications were burning, ambers flew onto the building, the fire spread. And so McGeezy burned down. And it's just in a conversation today. A lot of the urban Indian leadership meet with the governor's office, and Kelly Drummer, the CEO, the executive of McGeezy, who has just been through so much. She built, helped put that building in place, and then had to watch it burn. She's been so strong, and the community's been so strong. But she was talking about some permanent kind of installation memorializing their presence there, what happened there when the building burned.
Yeah, definitely. And then they, we were just over there a little while ago because we go to Moon Palace Books. And,
sure.
And I was amazed that all the work that had happened with the liquor store, and then that great restaurant that had.
It was like an Indian restaurant
Yeah,
right
they
there. The
right.
liquor
Gandhi
store, the Indian
Mahal.
restaurant. Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it.
Well, and not only was that a restaurant, Wendy. I mean, the owner
Right.
of Gandhi Mahal. I remember as the riots, or as the unrest was going on, I remember he was quoted broadly in the media as saying, "If something I'm paraphrasing completely, but was something like, if losing my building is the cost of justice, then it's worth it."
Right, and it was amazing. We're going to take off here, but what I wanted to say, it was amazing because they had their own gardens and
Gardens, hydroponics. They worked with the
Yes,
Dakota
that's what they had.
community.
Yeah.
They worked right with the Native community in addressing food access and food security and food sovereignty. I mean, it was an incredible organization. It is still an incredible organization, but it was a huge loss too.
Yes. Hey, Robert, can you stick with us for another segment?
Happy to.
Right on. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're here with Robert Lilligren and the crew. So, hey, let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
I love the Toyotas I've owned from Rudy Luther Toyota, but not only because Rudy Luther is the best dealership I know. Toyotas are just better, and that's not just me saying that. Consumer Reports in their April 2021 edition picked the Camry, Corolla, Prius, Avalon, Sienna, and Tundra best in their individual classes. And every Toyota evaluated rated in the top of their individual classes. Toyotas are just great vehicles, and I'll own one for as long as I drive. Test drive one today at Rudy Luther Toyota and see for yourself. Rudy Luther Toyota, Southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Works St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
Mornings can be tough, unless, of course, you're listening to The Stephanie Miller Show every weekday morning from 8 to 11 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hi, it's Tom. Solar power is more important than ever as a long-term investment for yourself and the community. That's why I trust All Energy Solar to provide a cost-effective, environmentally friendly energy system. But some of the government incentive programs that make solar affordable are expiring in 2021, so now's the time to get your solar project on the books. All Energy Solar can walk you through the process using their zero-contact virtual evaluation process. Financing options are available for those who qualify, so go green and start saving at allenergysolar.com.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilly. Clear skies tonight with a low about freezing, then sunshine on Friday and a high of 61. The Great Wall Restaurant has been providing an authentic taste of Chinese cuisine since 1981, specializing in Sichuan and Peking dishes. The Great Wall is located on the Minneapolis-Edina City line on France Avenue, just blocks north of 50th Street near 45th and Sunnyside. Check out their menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Anine, I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are the Alusa Nation.
Hey, welcome back. Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition and MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, Wendy, you know, when we started this this journey as Native Roots Radio, we had to beg, borrow, and steal for guests, and now we have people like Robert Lilligren on our show that has the pulse on the Twin City urban and also all over Turtle Island news. And we're expanding our brand, and starting next week we're going to be live 5 days a week in Madison on Devil Radio 92.7, and we're really excited. And tomorrow I'm going to be on their show at 4:30 and talking about you know, my experience living in Madison, the G version, and also, you know, the people that we know and in Madison and Wisconsin, and then our tribes from Wisconsin. So it just fits really well. But the reason why I bring this up is, you know, we could only do it with great guests like Robert Lilligren.
Absolutely, and we're blessed.
Yeah, we totally are. So, Robert, welcome back, and thank you so much for really going on this ride with us. It's been so fun and exciting.
You know, thanks, Robert. Thanks, Renee. I appreciate it so much. I just appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you, to talk to our relatives, and yeah, so thank you. It's my pleasure. But with this new expanded programming, I'm going to have to ask for a raise in pay, I think.
Exactly. Both of us need a raise in pay.
I think Pokemon has something in mind, a T-shirt and some headphones or something like that.
I hope you put some of that away for retirement, Ogama. You can never start too early. The T-shirt or the
I'll
headphones.
work on that, Robert. I'll work on it. Do you have any recommendations for who to contact?
I would keep the T-shirt and use the headphones. The T-shirt will last longer.
Yeah, awesome. Robert, you know, that's what's really cool too, I think, and what a national audience really likes and will like in Madison and Chicago is that you also have the big heart, you touch on what's going on locally and nationally. And so why don't we jump in a little bit what's happening locally and what you can fill in with our audience what's happening.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. There's a lot going on locally, and it was great to hear the voice of my whiter sister, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. I got to actually spend time in physical space with her yesterday. Our Congresswoman, Ilhan Omar, had convened a bunch of community reps, especially a bunch of representatives from our Asian Pacific Islander community, to really call for an end to Asian hate, to racism, to online platforms that just let unregulated hate speech happen. It was really meaningful, and the Lieutenant Governor was there, which was nice, and I was honored to be invited to speak as well. So there's stuff like that going on. Here in the urban community, here in Minnesota, we have American Indian Month in May. And of course, we always celebrate American Indian History Month in November as well. But back in the 70s, American Indian Movement AIM really fought at the state and city levels to have May recognized as Indian Month, and that tradition continues. So the community here is actively planning for Indian Month last year, and you know, it was kind of unusual, as is this year, and we shifted everything to online, and so this year will probably be a balance. So we're doing that planning. But a couple of really cool things have happened lately that I wanted to share with you all. And One of them has to do with our state government and our state agencies. And strategically, for a number of years now, we have been, as an urban Indian community, really strengthening relationships with our governors, for Governor Dayton and now Governor Waltz, and with the state agencies and commissioners. And a lot of the work's been led by people like Dr. Joe Hobart at the American Indian OIC, Louise Matson at the Division of Indian Work as well. But just to get into relationship, and it's resulted in many more resources coming to our community. It's resulted in a much more collaborative, sort of indigenous approach to our work here in the urban environment. And so now with the American Rescue Plan Act being passed, and billions of dollars coming into our state, we actually have the commissioners from our state agencies reaching out to the urban community here saying, okay, what are your plans? What are your projects? What are your best uses for these Rescue Plan Act funds? And we've come together. We're coming together as the urban community, the organizations and agencies that serve our relatives here, and putting together a collaborative sort of scheme where we're not competing against each other. It's not like a Hunger Games arena or something. And so, but to have the commissioners and the governor's administration come to us and ask us, what is it that you need? Where would investment be most useful to you? That's huge. That has never really happened before.
That is huge, and it's interesting. Just to back up a second, your friend, the lieutenant governor, has endorsed my candidacy. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. Impressive.
Yeah, and I told I just dropped your name, and she said, "Hey, yeah, just talk to my people."
I wish.
And then also, and Peggy's been on our show many times, and hopefully, what we can do when we go nationally too is have her come on every once a month or so.
Yeah.
And check
here, well, this is us, Congresswoman Omar's event yesterday. Peggy's good with the selfies. I will say that.
All right. Well, I'm jelly, and also give Native Roots Radio a shout out when you're in those meetings about amplifying Native voices and what's happening with the
always do. Always do.
Yeah, you do.
And
you do.
And another great thing that's going on locally, if we have a minute, is a conversation. We've been convening since our Wall of Forgotten Natives, our large homeless encampment, appeared in 2018. We've been convening community groups, so our Metropolitan Urban Indian directors, to really get action-based solutions toward better serving our relatives sleeping outside, relatives struggling with opioid use. And right now there's just a lot of traction around an idea of a larger scale dedicated Native residential treatment facility here in the community. And the American Indian Community Development Corporation, with Mike Gozzi's leadership and his incredible staff, are kind of leading the effort, but it's a community effort. And as we look at these American Rescue Plan Act dollars, here's a big chunk of investment that the community has identified it wants. We have the capacity to do it. We just really need the dollars to do it. And it's just a wonderful collaborative conversation that puts our relatives who are most vulnerable at the center of our conversation, and how we can support our relatives who really need it. And it's really rewarding to see it happening here.
Is that going to be based on Red Road recovery, do you think, or how is that, or is that too early to know?
It's too early to know. I mean, the kind of the closest model we have to look is the Native American Connections in Phoenix. I don't know if you're familiar with that organization. Not unlike the community here, but they had a visionary leader, Dee Dee Devine, who has sort of built up a cultural corridor kind of out of nothing, but she really uses these native traditions, spirituality, healing, language. It's a very comprehensive approach where it's not just shelter, it's housing, it's job training, along with these traditional healings. So that's the closest thing I think we have to a model to follow, but it's really going to be a whole community effort here.
Yeah, I really feel like we need people, like every time I see the lieutenant governor, and I know I say this a lot, but I thank her,
You
especially
do.
as a teacher, because my students can look at her and say, this person looks like us and is doing this. And I think if we can expand that with what you're doing, with what I'm doing, with what teachers are doing, that would community really bring in the community and really, I don't know, nip this in the bud with our youth, so we don't have these big drug problems. And a lot of it, if not all of it, is trauma based, Robert.
And the historic, sort of colonization framework where Native people aren't viewed as people who can produce solutions, who can take care of themselves, through the heavy boot of colonization. And so part of it is for the broader system and the colonizers to realize, oh, wow, the best thing we can do is support this community in serving their own relatives instead of coming in and saying, we know what's best for you.
Right.
And so I think that's what's happening, right, with the incredible narrative change across this country.
It is, and it's fun because we get to talk to you because you have seen this, firsthand in government and being in the government and the local government and being plugged in now. And I think it excites us. I can't imagine how exciting it is for you because it is such a positive wave.
It has, and just being out in the community, there are community members who want to know how it works, and so I feel like having at least had a little glimpse, 12 years in elected office, I just love spending the time with someone, sort of demystifying what happens within that black box of government, and I just feel like the more we understand, the more of us who understand what's really going on, the stronger we are.
Exactly. We all put on our moccasins the same way, right?
Here.
And and what I really like about you, Robert, and successful politicians is they meet people where they're at, and that's the key.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah, right on. Hey, we were with Robert Lilligren of Native American Community Development Institute, NACDI, and we're gonna take a break. Pinigigi, Robert, for being on as always.
Miigwech. Thanks. And I really like the steam yard. When it works, it really works. This is nice.
It wasn't our fault. It wasn't our fault, Robert.
I had to come back.
I'm not blaming nobody.
Trying to take a little vacation, and here it is.
We need you too much. We need.
All right. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and that was Robert Lilligren, and we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222 3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
The University of Minnesota Duluth Department of American Indian Studies is accepting applications for their Master of Tribal Administration and Governance. This degree is designed to develop the knowledge needed to work as an administrator in tribal government. Plus, you'll learn about the principles of sovereignty, ethics, law, budgets, and leadership. And you can take all the courses online. To apply for the fall 2021 Master of Tribal Administration and Governance at Minnesota Duluth, visit umdmtag.org. That's umdmtag.org.
This is Winona Duke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm awake.
We are the Alusa Nation.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakunjahade.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Hey, this show is dedicated to all those who give back and fight back for our people. We are the resistance. We are awake. All things are our relatives, Wendy. What we do to everything we do to ourselves. All is one. Black Alk said that. Welcome. This is our sacred animal portion of the show. And welcome, Wendy. Can you tell us your name and who you're a volunteer spokesperson for?
Sure. My name is Hanaji Hihani, and that means cares for them. And I was given that name by Curtis, my Dega. So as always, Curtis, thank you. I am a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. And Robert, you know that we get some news and updates from our friend Robert James.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's always sending me kind of like animal updates and things to talk about, and I really appreciate it. So Robert James, if you are listening, thank you very much. But one of the things he sent me was an event, and you're going to kind of be shocked when I read this story. It's kind of unbelievable. But tomorrow, April 2nd, Friday, at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, there's going to be a Zoom event, which I'll put on the Native Roots Radio page, and it's to thank the Hummingbird Warriors. I don't know if you heard about this. Did you hear about this?
Yes.
Okay, so recently 2 active hummingbird nests were found among the thousands of trees that the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion intends to cut down. But under the Migratory Bird Convention Act, there should not be any tree cutting near them while they're nesting. So at first what they wanted to do was just cut the trees and kind of leave a barrier so the hummingbirds can just have their nests. But they were really cutting the trees too close to the hummingbirds, and eyewitnesses reported that the hummingbirds were being very agitated and anxious about this. So we thank the hummingbirds for stopping this destruction for the time being, and we stand with the hummingbirds and the trees for a livable future, clean water, clean air, climate stability, all of which is threatened by another pipeline called the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion. And they're in Burnaby, Canada, which is British Columbia, Canada, and they're kind of part of the metro area of the Vancouver part of Canada. 1,308 of these trees, more than 20 centimeters in diameter, these cedars, cottonwoods, alders, maples, and more are dear to us. We love them, and they are worth more than anyone alive than dead. They are our best line of defense in climate crisis. We need more trees, not less. More hummingbirds, more salmon, more nook sack dace. So, again, the event is to thank the Hummingbird Warriors, and it is tomorrow, Friday, April 2nd at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it's from 4 to 6, and they're going to have poems and kind of live event. And could you imagine just a few little hummingbirds can stop a pipeline? I think it really means a lot. And these hummingbirds, they are our pollinators, and they're very important to the environment.
It blows me away whenever we see them in the backyard because of your gardens that you've made.
Yeah, so every year I build a pollinator garden and I plant all kinds of flowers that attract bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds.
Rainbows too. No, that's a different song.
And what happens also is I make homemade nectar for the hummingbirds, and I put it in a glass container for them to drink from, and I don't put any dyes or food coloring or anything in it. And you should just make it with just sugar and water. That is, I always have to look it up. I think it's 1 cup of water to 2 cups of water, but just Google it really quick. It's like 1 cup of sugar to 2 cups of water. It might be 3 cups of water, so just Google it really quick.
Just shake it up, or do you have to cook it,
let
or
it
anything?
dissolve, and just do it. I do boil the water.
Yeah,
I do boil the water.
Well, I know that totally works because we'd see them all the time when you switch the recipe.
Every day we see hummingbirds, and they're beautiful little birds, and they got their name by the humming. They don't hum. It's because their wings flap so fast they make a humming sound, and that's how they got their name. I have a lot of fun facts, but we only have a few minutes left.
Save those for the fair, Wendy.
I will. And they're really I have a lot of fun hummingbird trivia, but we'll wait to hear from that.
Yeah, what a show, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Robert Lilligren's just awesome.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He really is.
What kind of things are you working on as working with your organizations and then by yourself? Are you reaching out to people?
So what we're trying to do is get a pet store ordinance here in the whole state of Minnesota.
And what is that exactly?
Okay, so the pet store ordinance is that we are having an ordinance to ban the sale of cats and dogs in pet stores.
Right.
So these dogs and cats originate from puppy mills. So if we ban the pet stores, then the puppy mills are going to have to keep moving and moving and moving until there's nowhere else for them to go. And then, we always ask people to adopt, don't shop. An animal is euthanized every 8 seconds in the United States. That's 2.7 million lives lost every year.
I think that people in the urban area really do not understand this puppy mill phenomena.
Yeah.
We used to get our dog's haircut, our poor little shelter dog, a puppy mill dog, and we heard of a puppy mill with like 900 dogs.
Yep, over 900 dogs
and
in
people
northern Minnesota.
And that's why I think it's great for us to talk about, because I think a lot of people just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know. We didn't know 18, 19 years ago.
Mm-hmm. We didn't know.
We picked up a couple of Chihuahuas at one of the most prolific and notorious puppy mill dealers in St. Paul.
Petland.
Oh.
Yeah, I could say it. They've left because, because of, people were protesting outside their door. But, like us, we just needed some education. But once we learned and we realized what was happening, there's always room for growth and change, and people can change their mind. They just have to have it opened and to learn about them. So we're trying to do that. I've already spoken to my House representative and my state senator, Dave Pinto and Erin Murphy. And I called and I left a message on Governor Walz's voicemail, and I asked him to please support the pet store ordinance for Minnesota. But in the meantime, what we're doing is just going from city to city to get this done one at a time. So far, we have it in Eden Prairie, St. Paul, Carver. There's one more that I keep forgetting.
Well, and the
Roseville, it was the first one.
And I just got to tell you, Wendy, the thing that people need to know out there in Radio Land is that we're replacing that with adoption, as opposed to having people get rich on these poor souls,
right?
Or try to get rich with just overbreeding and all these things. There's so many, like you just said, so many animals out there that need a home.
And there's only 10 stores in Minnesota that sell animals cats and dogs, but there's 140 pet stores that use a humane, have a humane model.
Wow. Well, thanks again. That really flew. I would like to end with these thoughts. If you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance. From Chief's Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and adopt. You've been listening to the show. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Stop line 3.
And free Leonard Peltier.
Hello, Richard from Auto Technical. Imagine life without a car. Just